Yo, former champion Joseph Parker explains why he beat Andy Ruiz and he had more success than Anthony Joshua, another guy he fought and lost to. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Let's jump right into it. Now, I seen this on planetrock.com, link in the description. It says Anthony Joshua receives advice from Joseph Parker on how to defeat Andy Ruiz Jr. Question: did Andy Ruiz Jr.'s victory surprise you? Joseph Parker said, we said before the fight that he had the ability to beat him. He had the ability to get a victory, but the way that he did it was something that I don't think anyone expected. He did a great job, and his team did a great job in getting that victory. It was good to see how hungry he was for it, and now he's made history for Mexico and his family. Kevin Berry says, I think everybody was surprised, but we knew Andy was what he was capable of. Andy always had enormous talent and potential. His biggest problem is he's been inactive, and obviously his weight fluctuation. For him to come out and do that was a shock to everyone, but less of a shock for Joe and I, because Joe had also sparred a lot of rounds with Andy early in his career prior to fighting him for the world title. We know how hard he punches we know the combination he puts together. We know how deceptive his hand speed that he has. I also know the skill level of Andy Ruiz, which again, new media, Bob Arum is recently talking about his old fighter, Andy Ruiz, and Bob Arum keeps telling you that Andy Ruiz can't punch. But now you hear Joseph Parker's, his, former conquest, someone he beat, and they're giving Andy Ruiz his props. So it just goes to show you, like I've been saying, new media, it's evident that, to me, Bob Arum is just saying stuff to hate because he's no longer a part of the Andy Ruiz situation. And Ruiz is with Al Heyman, so he's looking for Joshua wasn't himself. He was an imposter. And Andy Ruiz, I don't understand how it happened because he doesn't even hit that hard. But Joseph Parker, who showed a chin and has been in there with Dillian White, been in there with Joshua, is saying he has heavy hands. New media. Man, it's looking crazy for old media and all these radical statements. Anyway, just a sidebar. Also, it says, where does Joshua go from here? Where did it go wrong? Parker said, firstly, in the beginning, we didn't think that he looked right, which is what I said, new media. I think a lot of people picked up on some of the stuff he was doing in the corner, getting his neck massaged and this and that. The good thing is he didn't make any excuses and he just accepted his loss. I think there's more to it. I think there was something going on. Some type of, I don't know if we'll ever find the truth because people have gag orders and, whatnot. But I think something was up. And this is nothing to take away from Andy Ruiz because I actually picked him, 7 reasons. Check it out on my channel before the fight. So I'm not taking away any credit for Andy Ruiz, but Joshua looked weirded out and spaced out. Like he knew. I don't know what it was. No one's copping to it on Joshua's side, but it looked like he knew he wasn't ready for this. Maybe he, it could have been anything. It could have been the Joey Dueco rumors were true. And maybe he did have a concussion, or maybe he did have a bad camp where he's getting hurt and dropped and stuff like that. Or it could be something like, if you prepared properly. Like if you were sitting around in Miami with glasses and a green do-rag and self-massagers and living the life, and then the moment comes and you're ill prepared, then yeah, you would be weird. You would be weirded out by that. I remember there's been times like in college or high school where I had an assignment and I know I procrastinated and I didn't stay up crazy late to cram and get it done because I was usually pretty good if I did that, but there'd be certain assignments where I just really, finished it right before the class, like that morning or something. And I'm not confident in my work. I'm not confident in my preparation. And I got to read this paper in front of the whole class. And I know I didn't really do the essay to the best of my ability. So preparation is key. And if you don't feel you prepared right for whatever reason, obviously it's going to have certain side effects. And I can imagine it all comes to pass when you're walking out there like, damn, I got this late minute replacement. He got fast hands, and then you could be living in your head. Anyway, Parker says, when we saw him trading, we thought it wasn't really the best game plan to be trading with someone shorter and more compact, which is what I said. Obviously, we saw that when he did come in for the kill, Andy ducked down and caught him with the left hook. A lot of people didn't really know of Andy and the fights he's had, but he's had some pretty good fights in his career. Trainer Kevin Berry says, the very first thing that struck me was at the weigh-in. I looked at his body type, and yet he weighed very similar weight to when he fought Joe, but his body looked totally different. I sat there with Joe, and I was like, this is very deceptive. He's weighing the same as when he fought you, and yet the definition was totally different. That was a little red flag in the body language walking to the ring that concerned me. His body language once he entered the ring, when the anthems were being played, chomping on his mouth guard, he didn't look the same positive, confident guy that usually enters the ring. What could AJ do differently? Joseph Parker said, I think the movement that I presented in the fight caused Andy Ruiz a lot of trouble and caused him to miss a lot of shots. A lot of the shots there wasn't really any big flush shots that were landing. A lot of them were grazing shots, and a lot of them were shots that I was able to maneuver and move back and forth with them. Even though they were hitting me, it wasn't getting the same impact as when it hit Joshua. AJ's style, when we see him fighting, he moves back, but a lot of the fights he likes to come forward. I guess this is sort of a first experience of fighting someone who just continuously puts pressure on. AJ threw nice shots and connected with Andy, but Andy is a fighter who takes 2 or 3 punches to throw 3, 4, 5, 6 back. I guess I'm able to move because I'm a little bit smaller. With AJ's size, it may have been a little bit harder for him to move around and jump around with all that muscle he has. Kevin Berry continues, and he says, we all knew that what he had to do to win the fight. He had to use his big, imposing 6'6" frame and 82-inch reach. That sounds ridiculous that he's that big with that reach and was getting out jabbed by a shorter person to keep Andy Ruiz on the outside. And most people thought he would be able to do that, but he never looked to have any authority with his jab, which is just what I said. When he finally did land a nice combination, the right uppercut, left hook in the third, he put Andy on his pants, probably for the first time in his career. Rather than get back to business in a professional fashion, he ran in reckless with no respect at all for the power of Andy Ruiz, and he got clipped. I know he would love a redo, because if he had taken his time, who knows, maybe the fight would have been over then. But what he did, he allowed Andy to get back into the fight. They both stood at close quarters swinging from the floor as heavyweight. You can't do that, So I want to add on my thoughts. I think Joseph Parker and his team brought up some really interesting things, and it just goes to show you in microcosm what I always say on the channel: styles make fights. Joseph Parker lost to AJ. He wasn't allowed to fight on the inside because of the referee, but he lost the fight. But AJ loses to Andy Ruiz, the guy Joseph Parker beat. There is no triangle theories. There's no rhyme or reason to this shit. Some people, just because Joseph Parker lost to AJ but beat Ruiz doesn't mean Ruiz is going to lose to AJ. That's the beauty of boxing. The triangle theories just simply don't work. Styles make fights, because one guy's kryptonite might not be the same kryptonite as the other guy. In my opinion, Tim Bradley lost all 3 Pacquiao fights. But Bradley, the first time he fought Juan Manuel Marquez, he beat him, and he beat him convincingly, versus when Pacquiao fought Marquez, he arguably lost some of those, and he got knocked out by Marquez in the 4th fight. And, some of the other ones were close. I think Pacquiao definitely lost the 3rd fight as well. So, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just styles make fights. That's one of the oldest proverbs and phrases that people use in boxing. But for Joshua, man, the rematch is dangerous, really, because it's not as easy as just saying, hey, just don't do this next time, because Andy Ruiz exposed a lot of flaws that Joshua has. You get what I'm saying? Like, he showed that he can hurt Joshua and drop him. He showed when it became a dog fight, when it became a war, not a tactical fight, that Joshua wasn't in it for that. Joshua, was likely to quit before Ruiz. That's what it looked like. It looked like Joshua quit. I mean, any gold medalist who's undefeated and heralded like Joshua has to know, who's done 90,000 plus venues. You have to know the rules of boxing. You fought Klitschko before 90,000 plus people. So anyone who thinks that by not listening to the ref, and this was earlier in the fight, like the third round or whatever, he wasn't listening then. He was like completely checked out. And if you can't stay composed in those moments of duress when you're under siege, then, it's going to be hard at the top level, period. Because those are the moments that define a champion, So it's not as simple as, hey, just take your time with it now, AJ. Because Andy Ruiz is out here living like a king, getting more recognition than he's ever got. And he's feeling himself. Now you have to take that away from him. You allowed him to receive this blessing and this confidence with his performance. So now you have to try to wipe that away. And you have to do it from a position where you should probably be less confident than before. I mean, how can't you be less confident? How could you? It takes a really special fighter, I would say, to go through a performance like that, an ugly spill, 4 knockdowns, embarrassing loss, American debut was horrible, very disastrous, and then completely be oblivious to this, never having lost, being a gold medal, and feeling like you let people down, and just reverse it. There's a chance just with Joshua's size that he can do something with Andy Ruiz, but the ebb and flow, the momentum, and the confidence is definitely in favor of Ruiz at this point. They're talking about putting this fight in America too. That's another thing. If you had all these anxiety and things as an undefeated fighter, you hired a psychologist or whatever. This is when you were undefeated. So imagine after you've been damaged and took that type of loss, now you have even more pressure than you did as an undefeated fighter, because now it's like the end of the road on some Boys to Men shit. You have to win this to reclaim the belts for the heavyweight division and Matchroom. So, Andy Ruiz also has an opportunity to train 5, 6, 7 more weeks and get in better shape. So either way, it's just a tough fight. It's just a tough fight for both, but definitely for Joshua. I like Joseph Parker and his trainer's commentary. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We working. Hit the like button. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.